submerge it in some warm water. Submerge it in there for just about a minute. We'll just let it sit in there and do its thing. So what happens is it's got the memory of a diameter about yay big, and you're reducing that to about half the diameter. So we got to get rid of the memory from this spool. So my friends out here, Fishing in Columbus, and I'm going to come up with a few tips. I recently introduced some new people to fishing, and they went out and picked up some spinning reels, spinning combos, and so one of the things they came back to me with was, man, my line keeps getting twisted on my spinning rod, so my reel. So let's got a new spinning reel here. This is the Lancelot. We're going to show you how to prevent some of those twisted lines or things you may get. So first, we'll get this set up, and we'll come back with the tips. All right, so tip number one, when you're spooling up your reel, you want to spool the reel where the line's coming off the spool the same direction the spool is turning. So here we got our spool rotating clockwise, and we're taking line off the spool. We also want it going clockwise. That way it's pulling it off the spool and onto the reel. So I'm going to spool this reel up real quick, and then we'll get on to tip number two. All right, now that we have our reel spooled up with our monofilament, our basic line, now what we need to do, the next step for tip number two, to help reduce tangles and that line coming off and clumps whenever you're casting a freshly spooled spool, is to submerge it in some warm water. We're going to submerge it in there for just about a minute. We'll just let it sit in there and do its thing. So now you can do this by dipping the whole reel in. You could take off just the spool itself and dip it into warm water. But what it's doing is it's making the line limber. So when it's on these spools, it develops a memory that is that diameter, and then you're putting it on a smaller diameter reel. So what happens is it's got the memory of a diameter about yay big, and you're reducing that to about half the diameter. So we got to get rid of the memory from this spool, and that's all we're going to do with dipping it in hot water. This doesn't got to be boiling water, and it doesn't have to be in there for a long time. This could just be run under the sink in your hottest water, and that will do the trick. But we're about there. We're going to pull it out. So there we go. So we'll shake this off. We'll dry it up. We'll let this sit out in the sun for a little bit. Again, it doesn't have to be hot water to where you can't touch the water. It's just taking the memory out of that line that's been sitting on that spool for however long it's been in the store, in the factory, wherever it may be. Monofilament will develop memory. So we're taking that memory out, and we're giving it some new memory around this diameter of a spool. All right, so tip number three, last tip. Many of you like throwing a wacky rig or some soft plastics on there, Texas rig, whatever it may be, that will twist your line. Especially consider picking up a small pack of swivels. These are very small swivels, and what they'll do is they'll help take some of that line twist out of your line from constantly casting a stick bait or any type of soft plastic that's going to rotate in the water. This thing weighted, it will just helicopter back in the water. So next thing you know, your line's twisting, and that's going all the way down to your spool. So yeah, tip number three, consider giving yourself a small little swivel. I just Palomar'd that on there, and you want about 12 to 18 inches up your line. We're going to do the same thing here. We're going to have to tie, we can't tie the Palomar on this one because we're connecting it. So we're just going to try an improved conch knot, and this way we will have a bait that can rotate all at once, give the action it wants to give, but yet isn't going to tangle up your line anymore. So there we go, about 18 inches up. We got our stick bait. We'll cut off the tag ends really close so that we can eliminate some of that. right there. We got our 2 knots. Knots now. You gotta make sure you got good sturdy knots. But there you go. Hope you enjoyed these tips, and hope you have a lot less frustration using your spinning reel out on the water, and you catch a lot more fish. So thanks very much. Have a great day. I'll talk to you later.